do believe in fairies. I do. I do.
I do believe in fairies. I do believe in...
And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Disney's original movie, Artemis Fowl. Artemis Fowl is directed by Kenneth Branagh now, but it has been in development hell for a number of years. This is an adaptation from, as I'm sure you know, from a series of novels. There's 8, and I feel like they're quite well loved. It has an audience that I hear people talking about all the time. Initially, there was a trailer that came out a little while ago that made me switch it off because it just looked like a fantasy young men in black, and I thought I'm not sure that's gonna be up my street, but the more I heard people talking about it, it had me more intrigued about the world that's inside this, and so I thought, okay, I'm gonna give it a go. We stuck it on our projector, we get our Atmos surround sound, we did it in 4K HDR, you know, the works, and I watched it with my teen son. And wow, that was bad. So Artemis Fowl is a 12-year-old genius and descendant of a long line of criminal masterminds. He soon finds himself in an epic battle against a race of powerful underground fairies who may be behind his father's disappearance. So the whole story centers around this young boy who's trying to find his father. And I always find those stories relatable. I like that. The father and son storyline, and that's great. And Colin Farrell is the father here. And whenever he's on screen, which is not much, I want more from him because he, as far as I'm concerned, he's a great actor. And he always brings presence to screen when he's on it. The thing is, I think they filmed his scenes in like a couple of days, maybe 3 or 4 days. It was very quick, so you can tell how much is in the film. And then you have other amazing actors like Judi Dench, who is a gore blimey elf. And she's fantastic in it, I guess, but they don't do much to give any backstory to her characters. And that is almost one of the biggest issues of this whole story, is that there's no backstory really for you to care about any of the characters. So you have this hour-and-a-half fantasy film about humans meeting elves, or that world crashing together, and they're not really meant to know about each other. And you have action sequences where fairies are trying to stop certain things from interacting with our world, and so you have things going on around the side, the timey-wimey stuff. At the same time, you have this whole story about why Artemis Fowl's father has been kidnapped, and that is the supposed to be the interesting part of the storyline, but it wasn't. The actor who plays Artemis Fowl, it's his first time, as far as I'm aware, on screen, and you feel that. I feel like the first third of this movie is probably the best part of this movie, because it establishes a world that you are kind of interested in. It's also narrated by Josh Gad, who plays Melch, and his character is interesting. The thing is that what they use his character for is a bit annoying, because he is the exposition guy. Whenever there's something they need to tell you about the world and they can't show you because they don't know how to shove everything into this 98-minute movie, they have Josh Gad do exposition. And he is funny, and he has some of the best lines and probably more character than any of the other characters in this film. So I do like what they do with him, but I also don't like exposition like that, especially as it's throughout the whole film. It's like 140 million budget, and you can see where they've spent the money in their special effects, which look okay. I think that is fun to watch. The demographic for this film is very interesting to me, because it's meant to be for young teens, but at times it feels like it's meant to be for even younger, like 7-8-year-olds. There's only one little bit where I thought, wow, yeah, really young kids will find it a bit scary, because the Josh Gad's character's jaw goes a bit dislocated and has to dig. And apart from that, I'm not sure why it even got a 12, because my 14-year-old son watched this with me, and he was just kind of shaking his head the whole way through, and the murmurings I got from him was this would do better as an animated film. I do wonder, if you've read the books, you're probably going to hate this because it won't do it justice. It looks like they've left a whole bunch of content out, even though I haven't read the books. There is, if you go and watch the trailer and then you're looking from trailer to film, you're going, where is that content in here? It's one of those. And they've obviously reshot, and what we have now is this mix mash of a kind of story that is not really there, And it all centers on these two centerpieces, mostly at the house and underground fairy kingdom, which we only get to see a little bit of, which I was disappointed of, because I really want that. For me was the most interesting part. I wanted to see the fairy kingdom. That looks great. I like the idea of that. I love the little bits of things that we get to see of the real world mechanics of how they go about doing society, and the fact that they've been looking after humans the whole time whenever their world interacts with ours. I thought that was interesting. The backstory for certain characters as well. You have a daughter that's introduced that has zero backstory. You have a bodyguard that has a little bit of backstory. Artemis himself has some sort of character development at the beginning, but not enough for you to care enough for him when stuff happens. The worst thing about this film for me is, and my son, is that when there's emotional beats, when you could care about something that happens in the story, so something dramatic will happen and there should be a consequence for their actions, you go, oh, okay, they're going to do that with this character without doing spoilers. They're going to do that. It's taken back like almost immediately. So you're like, oh, okay, I'm starting to get slightly invested. Now I might really root for these characters. They take it back. And most of the time, the answer is 'cause magic. Like, why do that? I know it's a Disney film, but there have been great Disney films. Just look at some of the Marvel films that have consequences for their actions, and then they have to deal with it, and you root for them. It goes on. And so I don't know if that's in the story or the way it's told, but the way it's portrayed here in this film, there seemingly are no consequence for their actions, and anytime they need something to make it right, we'll just use magic, damn it. It's like the get out of jail free cards. Here's your magic card. My trump card is magic. I'm a person that generally gives fantasy films a break. I will often review films and go, yeah, that was a pretty good film. It's not great, and I know people are not going to like it, and so I'm that guy because I love fantasy so much. So normally I will give fantasy adventure films like this a huge break. And I really wanted to with this film. I was hoping that it was going to be one of those films that, because Disney just chucked it on their Disney Plus format, it was only because of COVID that they had to do that. Unfortunately, I think it was more like, yeah, we don't have faith that this is going to do well at the cinema, because this film is pretty shocking. I'm going to have to give this film a D, which I don't want to do, but everything from the ground up makes this film not great. Which is sad, because I really like Kenneth Branagh's directing as well. You know, if you just watch Thor, it's an interesting film. He's a decent actor as well. I mean, to say he's a decent actor, that's understating it. The man is pretty good at what he does. So I was very surprised to see what happened with this film. I'm very disappointed. I imagine there will be families that can enjoy this for what it is and just kind of let it wash over you, not really think about it too much, and be a once-off and just immediately forget about it. You know, that kind of just... You're browsing through Disney and be like, oh, let's give Artemis a try. And you, if you've never read the books, then you might enjoy it for that 94-minute segment. But if you're a fan of the books, I doubt you're going to like this. Chat to me in the comments below. Did you find anything redeeming about this film? Did you love the film? Yeah. Thanks so much for watching this review. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.